Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Lonsdale Public Library's Weekly Book Chat. I am Alex and I have the pleasure of doing this week's episode. This week I'm going to focus on dystopian fiction. Dystopian fiction, or as it's sometimes known, dysto, is a genre of books where these characters have to deal with a world that has been altered in some way. There are multiple main subgenres of dystopian. Whether that's government, where the government affects these people's lives, or environment, where a disaster such as wildfires or a meteor shower would then affect these people. Technology, where either we have grown too advanced for our technology, or where people use this technology to attack others. And lastly, survival, where this world has been changed, the characters now must find a way to survive in this altered landscape. My favorite style of dystopian novels are technological, just because of how much I enjoy working with technology. The first book I'm going to talk about is Gone by Michael Grant. In Gone, all of a sudden, everybody over the age of 15 just disappears. Nobody knows where they go. And all of a sudden, these kids start developing random superpowers. So these characters now must survive not only without adults, but also with these superpowers. This is probably my second favorite dystopian novel because of the power these people can gain and how they can use it to affect the other people in that planet. This is a 7-book series, and I highly recommend each book. The next book I'm going to talk about is Little Brother by Cory Doctorow. This is a much more technological dystopian book. Marcus Yallow is arrested as a suspect in a terrorist action. Once released from his interrogations, he comes to find out that the Department of Homeland Security has basically taken away all of the people's rights in his area. He then has to use these secret internet hangouts to try and fight back against the Department of Homeland Security and bring these people's rights back. This was my first dystopian book that I read 2 or 3 years ago, and I still love reading it. The next book I'm going to talk about is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This is another very technological one, but in a different sense. In Ready Player One, James Halliday has created the most advanced and addictive video gaming system ever. It's a stimulation that people can use to waste their time feeling much better than in real life. What happens when he dies is he leaves these Easter eggs to the people to control who gets control of the game. This is a very fun book, and it's filled with a bunch of 80s references. So if you enjoy those, this is definitely a book for you. The next book I will talk about is Scythe by Neal Shusterman. Neal Shusterman is a wonderful dystopian author, and Scythe is probably his best book. In Scythe, humans have created themselves a utopian society where they have solved all of the major issues that plagues today's world, including death. But in order to control the population, there are a small number of people, called Scythes, who are responsible for gleaning off the population to keep it under control. Citra Terranova and Ron Damashitz have become apprenticed to one of these Scythes and discover the layers of corruption that have enveloped this group of people. As they attempt to work with their mentor to remove some of this corruption, their mentor suddenly dies. Sent to different mentors on different sides of the political divide of Scythedom, they now have to try and determine their views to keep the Scythedom alive. This is my favorite dystopian book that I have read. The last book I'm going to talk about is The Young Elites. This is an interesting book as it's very different from most dystopian novels and the fact that it doesn't take place on Earth. Adelina Immorturu is a survivor of the blood fever that swept through her nation 10 years ago, leaving her with a special marking and special powers. Trying to escape from her abusive father, she accidentally kills him, landing her in trouble with the Inquisition. At her supposed execution, she is rescued by a group of people who have these same powers called the Young Elites. Adelina quickly joins the group and falls in love with the leader Enzo Valencino. Enzo's motives are unclear except to end the oppression against the children of the blood fever, and Adelina works with him to her best to try and solve this. There are multiple other dystopian books that I didn't mention, mostly because they're all insanely popular, such as The Hunger Games, Divergent, or Ender's Game. But the ones I chose today were some of my favorite dystopian books to read. Thank you.